Welcome to the Goalie Podcast, presented by the Stop It Goaltending U app, where the goal isn't just to stop the puck, it's to become unstoppable. Now please join our hosts, Brian DeCourt and Adam Mercer.
Hi, goalies, goalie parents, and goalie coaches. Welcome to the Stop It Goaltending You Goalie Podcast. My name is Brian DeCourt. I'm a former NHL goaltending coach, goaltending scout, and director of goaltending. And I'm joined by Adam Mercer. Adam Mercer runs operations for the Stop It Goaltending You app. Adam, our first podcast. You fired up?
I'm amped to be here, amped to be ready to talk about goaltending, what's going on in the app, have some cool interviews coming up as well.
Well, just so you understand how the format's going to be, everyone, we're going to talk a little bit about goaltending. We're going to talk about the NHL trade deadline, which was an exciting one for goalies and some of the impact that it had, and not only look at the moves that were made, but how that really affects development and what we can read and what we can learn from what those trades were. And we're also joined by Brian Mahoney Wilson from Northeastern University.
What a great interview that was. Just so many nuggets. You guys are going to love this interview. Brian really takes you in depth of what it is to be a Division I goalie coach, some of his time in pro in Grand Rapids. You guys just wait. It's going to be awesome.
We're going to talk a little bit about goaltending, then we're going to get into Beamer, as we know Brian Mahoney Wilson, BMW, we know him as. And it's really neat because for the last, I think it was 7 years, he was coaching in the pro ranks. He was the development coach for the Detroit Red Wings. And he moved back home and took a full-time position with Northeastern because of the new, the additional coach that is now new in the NCAA. So it's really interesting how that came about. It's interesting to hear his perspective on going from the pro game and the college game and the types of goalies that he has. But let's talk about some trade deadline. And I want to talk about New Jersey because that was the one that everybody was waiting for. And before we talk about the trade, I want to talk a little bit about what it must have been like for a young Nico Dawes, who played for the Guelph Storm in the OHL and has been in the minors for the last 2 years in the AHL, done very well. And Akira Schmidt, another draft pick of New Jersey, a Swiss-born player playing the Swiss national team, played U18s, played World Juniors for Switzerland. And, you know, those two goalies were going back and forth here with Vitek Vanacek hurt, and getting some serious NHL minutes. And they wake up one day and find out you're going to Utica. That's it. We just traded for two goalies, Kaapo Kähkönen and Jake Allen. That must be a mindset shift for those guys.
Yeah, definitely. I can't imagine just you're up in the NHL and you're really rolling and trying to take advantage of every opportunity that you're getting. And then all of a sudden you hear out of nowhere almost that, oh, hey, you got to go to Utica and play back in the AHL. And we got two guys. Well, we got a veteran and one younger guy coming in, and they're going to take the reins in the NHL. I can't imagine the mental strength that they must have to keep pushing on and keep moving forward. Granted, they're making money doing it, but they have to still, you know, they got to go eat the soggy subs, as they say on other podcasts, right? Like,
yeah, but at the end of the day, like, okay, they're making money. Guess what? 2 days ago, they were making $750, $800, $850 a year, and then they just in one day they go down to 85.
I know.
So you go from a paycheck that's paying you $850,000 annually. The next day you're getting paid $85,000.
Yeah,
like that's a blow in and of itself. But at the end of the day, there's more to it than just the money, right?
Oh, 100%.
And
yeah,
you think about what these guys have gone through lately, because it's been weeks, if not months, leading up to the deadline. New Jersey needs a goalie. New Jersey's going to make a move for goal. They got to go out and play.
Yeah.
While they know all the rhetoric from the pundits are it's all about getting another goalie. So that's not easy.
Yeah, it's almost like having a dark cloud following you around every day, you know, like, you know, something might be coming, but
right.
You want to make it so it's not coming, right?
Right.
So
And so, like, for me, that's why be where your feet are, be where your skates are, is so important for goalies. Like, if you're Nico Dawes or Akira Schmidt and you're walking in every day waiting for the shoe to drop,
Yeah,
how do
definitely.
you go out and perform your job?
I think we talk about this a lot, is just controlling what you can control, right? Like,
Without a doubt.
yeah, exactly, right? They have to come to the rink and do their job. They can't. They almost have to block out all that outside noise. Hopefully, they turn their phones off, like, for all the news stuff and like Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they're not looking too hard at that stuff, because if you are, it's gonna eat you alive at the end of the day.
But I've said this all the time. I mean, when Corey Schneider went to New Jersey, Martin Brodeur was the starting goalie in New Jersey at the
Yes.
time. He was the winningest goalie of all time. And then now he's got competition. He's got to go prove himself.
Right.
So whether it's for those guys, whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, whatever, like, you never have to stop proving yourself as a goaltender.
100%. Like, it's a daily task.
Daily.
You can't take a day off.
No.
You can't.
No,
Whether it be the NHL or any other level, you can't take a day off.
So you got the Ted Lasso, the goldfish. You know, they have about 7 seconds worth of memory or whatever. Here's what I say when it comes to memory. Coaches, they have about a 24-hour window. They cannot see anything past 24 hours.
Yeah.
They want to win the next game. That's all it comes down to.
At the end of the day, that's the coach's job, right? Like,
yes,
he has to go win the next game, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've been in the coaching shoes, you still are in the coaching shoes, right? Like, you have to give the team the best opportunity to win every single night. It's not the guy who did it great the other night. It's the guy who's going to do it great tonight.
Absolutely. So the coaches have this 24-hour window. That means that what you did last week or 2 weeks ago or a month ago, you can't go back and say, wow, geez, I had a great month last month. I was goalie of the week twice, whatever it is.
No one
It
cares.
doesn't matter. No one cares. They can only look. They can only see a 24-hour window. That's all they live in right there. They just want to win the next game. And so it's a constant having to prove yourself.
Yep.
And now it's okay. Now they're going back to the American Hockey League.
Yep.
And guess what? They have to have what's called emotional endurance. And emotional endurance is the ability to bring the same effort, attitude, and focus every day, regardless of what's going on around you. That's your environment.
You did a week of primers on that on the app, right?
Absolutely. There's a whole week of emotional endurance. You have to have that emotional endurance. So no matter what happens, you bring the same. So you know what? Nico Dawes is in the NHL one day and he goes to practice, and the next day he's practicing in Utica. He's got to bring the same emotional endurance, the same effort, the same attitude, and the same focus regardless. And that's the only way you make it. And that's how you build resiliency as a goaltender.
That's an absolutely admirable thing to have, right? Like, you get sent down to the AHL, like, it's a blow, right?
Easy to say, hard to do.
Yes. 100%. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, you have to travel from New Jersey to Utica, and now you're in Utica, New York, and now you have to go and bring that same attitude, bring that same energy. I can't imagine how complicated that is mentally for those guys.
And that's why you take the stairs, you don't take the elevator, you go through each level, you go through all these experiences, and you build your resiliency over time. It doesn't happen overnight. So that when you get to that point, when you get to that level and you get punched in the side of the head, right? You're able to bounce back.
Well, what's your famous thing with Joey? Building calluses,
Building
right?
calluses on the hands. Absolutely. You got to build your calluses. You got to build strength. So now let's flip that though. Okay. Now let's take a look at the exact opposite. San Jose. So San Jose, Capo goes from San Jose to New Jersey.
Yep.
That leaves a goalie spot.
Mm-hmm.
Vitek Vanacek goes, but he's hurt, right? So now he's not playing. So now all of a sudden, the two goalies in San Jose are Magnus Krona,
Yep.
who played at the University of Denver,
Yep.
and Devin Cooley.
Our very own Devin Cooley.
Our very own Devin Cooley, who trains, big fan of the app as well. So Devin is now in the NHL and backing up Magnus Krona. Now let's understand goal, because this is so goalie world, right? Buffalo's got a log jam. They got 5 goalies.
Yeah.
For 4 spots. Devin's like the odd man out there.
Yes.
He goes from being the odd man out in that mess of a goalie situation to backing up in the NHL overnight.
Yep.
Okay. Magnus Krona, right, is playing in the American Hockey League. He's got an 890 something. It's not like he's killing the American Hockey League and he was so good he got called up. But guess what? Injuries happen.
The opportunity.
Timing and luck. This is goalie's world. Timing and luck are so important.
And for a guy who's sub 900 in the AHL, he's playing pretty darn well.
Playing really well. Now, okay, so let's go more into goalie's world. Who do you think were the two goalies together at Denver? Devin Cooley and Magnus Krona. Battling it out for game time.
Goalie world.
Magnus was 5th round draft pick, Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Cooley, undrafted. Now this is great for our goalie parents, our goalies to understand. Devin Cooley, in this small world of goaltending, played with Joey Decord in Muskegon.
Correct.
And that's why he comes to Stop It now. He met with Joey, and now he spends his summers here training with us. But guess what? He bounced around, Junior.
Yep.
He went to Denver as the number 3 goalie, non-scholarship. He went number 3 goalie, non-scholarship, ends up the starting goalie at the University of Denver. Powerhouse, Division I team.
Like you said, like that's a big thing for parents and goalies to understand, right? Like it's not about like what path you take as long as you get there.
No, I disagree with you. Okay. I'm going to say this because Razor says it all the time.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, you know where I'm going with this, right?
Stick around.
You just stick around. Andrew Raycroft says all the time, you just stick around. And guess what Devin Cooley did? Devin Cooley was like, all right, I'm junior. I got to get back. Like, what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then he, on his own, said, where do 10% of the NHL goalies train or have trained? That's Stop It Goaltending. So guess where I'm going to go? I'm going to go to Stop It Goaltending and train. And he comes here, gets an Airbnb.
Yeah, not for nothing. He's a San Jose kid.
Yeah.
You know, like he's from California.
he's back home. Right? He's back home now. But he took his own initiative, said, okay, I can track down these guys. I'm going to go get a place and I'm going to set up. And he's here anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks of summer. And he skates every single day and he works his butt off. I've never seen a guy work that hard. Like he works his butt off. He's paid the price and he's worked his way from a non-scholarship goalie to signing with the Predators on an NHL contract, then signing with Buffalo. Now he's sitting in an NHL locker room right now, and he didn't have a scholarship offer.
Right. It's insane how it works. It's like you said, like Razor always says, stick around. and it'll happen.
Yeah.
Right. As long as you keep doing the right things, you keep on the ice, off the ice. You know, it's the whole picture, right? You can't just stick around and do nothing, but like as long as you're doing the right things and you stick around, odds are something's going to work.
Not guaranteed. And that's why you dream big, you don't expect big.
Yes.
So there can't be an expectation. I think I just created a word there. Is that a new? Okay. There can't be an expectation that this is it's all going to work out. But at the end of the day, if you put your nose to the grindstone and you do what you have to do and you commit yourself, the probability is at some point you're going to get a chance.
Let's talk about that for a second. It's just like the fact of putting your nose to the grindstone. I think you almost have to have that belief that something is going to happen, though. You can't keep in the back of your mind that it might not happen. I think you have to have the ultimate confidence in yourself that it's going to happen.
You have to have a dream.
Exactly.
And that's why the two go hand in hand.
Yes.
It's dream big, just don't expect big. Don't expect it. You
Yep.
put the work, it may not happen. You know, because we know kids, we know other goalies that have done everything that we think you need to do. And guess what? At the end of the day, they either didn't get the opportunity or they didn't take advantage of the opportunity that they had.
Yeah, that's the ultimate thing, right? Like every opportunity that you do get, you got to take advantage of it. Otherwise, like it's squashed at that
without
point.
a doubt. And you got to believe, you just got to believe that if you keep on doing the right things, doing what you have to do, that eventually that opportunity is going to come. And then because you put the work in, like there's nothing that could be worse for a goalie to get a chance, like get this chance that Magnus Corona is getting right now, or a Noonan from Colorado, right? Like there could be nothing worse than getting an opportunity and then feeling that you didn't do what you needed to do. And I think, you know, if you look at what we do in providing the app to the world, right, we are giving all goalies the opportunity to grow and develop in the palm of their hand, and is there for them for the taking.
And like we always like we talk about, it takes 30 minutes a week.
30 minutes a week, yeah, absolutely.
That's it. Like it's 5 minutes Monday through Friday in total, 5 minutes on Saturday, and 20 minutes on Sunday, right? Like, and then you can take control. And then once you get to these points where you get these opportunities, like the fact that you put the time into the app, the fact that you did these things in the gym, the fact that you did the right things on the ice, you're prepared, right? And there's no better feeling than going into one of those opportunities and realizing I'm prepped for this. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Like
there's no difference between taking a test in school where you wait until the night before the test and start cramming, and you know you're not ready when you go sit down and take the test, or you worked for an hour every night for a week leading up to the test and you knew everything backwards and forwards.
Yep.
It's the exact same sensation. That's where you're able to go out and perform when you feel that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey,
all
but
right,
let's hop into the Beamer interview, because I know that our goalies, our goalie parents, and our goalie coaches are gonna love this. You know, we've known Brian for a long time, and he's all business. Like he's the thinker. He's not an emotional fly off the seat of your pants kind of guy. He thinks about everything.
So I've seen Brian in both lights, right? Because he started coaching at Stop It, I think, when I was still training at Stop It in Merrimack, and now I'm seeing from the coaching perspective as of this last summer. And my perspective really hasn't changed much on him. He's all business, right? But just understanding why he does things that way, and like the way he connects with the goalies now. So it's amazing to see like it from both sides of it. And like you guys are going to see it in the interview. This guy is just a wealth of knowledge. He's got all this experience behind him from college, from the NHL, the AHL, but he's worked with NHL guys as well. Some big names. We'll get into that into the interview. But yeah, it's going to be awesome.
All right, here we go.
Great.
All right, Merce, I'm pretty fired up. We have on the line right now Brian Mahoney Wilson, goaltending coach of Northeastern University. Merce, this is our first interview, and Beamer, you're the guy. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dak. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Merce, as well. Obviously, been associated with you, Dak, for I think it's almost 14 years now. So it's nice to talk goaltending. Wish it could be every day, but especially your first podcast here at SIGU. So that's great.
So we're really excited here, and I was just talking a little bit before the show with Merce and going over your background and how you started off at West Point, and then you did that year. Remember, you volunteered at Notre Dame for a year just to learn the business, to learn the actual skill of coaching in a team environment, and then you translated that right into a job in the NHL as development coach for the Detroit Red Wings, and 7 years in Grand Rapids, and now you're going back to college. And I want to lead with that. I want to talk about what it was like your first week at Northeastern, your first week of regular practice, and what your thoughts were. Were you sitting there going, oh, wow, this is a big change? Or did it feel comfortable and similar to you, or was it a dramatic change?
I think it was more along the lines that it felt like just a normal transition to development, because I looked at it as we're trying to develop 4 goaltenders, which are on our roster. And we have a draft pick in Cameron Whitehead with Vegas. But also I looked at it as having now almost 10 years of coaching experience, seeing it from both sides, that I felt more well-rounded. I felt a sense of comfort that I could pull a defenseman or forward aside and say something that I felt systematically I knew what I was talking about, or a skill set I knew what I was talking about. So from the overall picture, it felt comfortable. Yes, from a standpoint from maybe the pace of play or certain situations, does it feel a little bit different? Absolutely, as it should. But from an overall coach and goalie relationship, nothing has changed. And it's a pretty cool thing to apply what I've learned over especially the last 7 years in pro hockey. And the 4 goaltenders I've worked with this year especially have been all like sponges. So it just is such a good feeling each day going to work, and I have their respect, they have my respect, and we've got on just great. So
Now let me ask you about this one. Because I'm at Boston University now, and I was with Arizona the year beforehand, and then before Arizona I was with Toronto. And what did you think about the focus level, the work ethic? Like, one of the things that I've always found with NHL goaltenders is they're so dialed when it gets down to practice, and they're so dialed in the little things. And I was wondering if you thought there was a big difference between the mental focus and the mental concentration of a pro versus, who you're working with now at the college level.
I would agree with the fact that a guy that has developed for 3 or 4 years in a pro system is going to be that much more ahead of the curve than a guy that's a rookie. And it's the same that goes for a college freshman versus a college senior. And having dealt with younger prospects, a couple that came into the Grand Rapids system, and then you look at a guy like Cameron Whitehead coming in as a freshman, it was pretty much the same age range, 20, 21, 22. So, and they're all different people and different makeups and skill sets, physically, mentally. And so I look at Cameron Whitehead compared to a guy that was in college hockey going into, making that jump to Grand Rapids, or major junior going to Grand Rapids, very similar. So Cameron Whitehead had to learn apply certain skill sets that he didn't have the year prior in Lincoln. And that goes from the skill set and physical aspect off the ice, from a conditioning standpoint, a strength standpoint, flexibility, but also the mental aspect, which he's worked on just as much as he has his overall skill set on the ice. So really, with a younger player, as far as younger goaltender, making that jump from college to pro, junior to pro, and seeing that transition between a first, second, third year guy at either level, it parallels each other, for sure. So I think there's just certain guys that make bigger jumps than others at certain times, and they advance quicker, and they learn how to become, that pro quicker than others. And the guy I'm working with at Northeastern, he's learned a lot in 7 months that he's on the right process, if you want to call it, to advancing himself. But it's, as you know, Dak, it's such a methodical, slow process, where you learn so much about yourself each and every day. So, that's
because we walk in there, and both of us coming from the NHL, we expect them to be pros, right? Like they have 2 full-time jobs. They're a full-time student and they're a full-time professional athlete. That's the way I look at it. And I remember I learned so much through Joey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what he learned when he went from ASU to the pro game, when that puck misses the net and goes off the boards, you have to expect someone's pulling that puck and shooting it on net right away. Like there's no time. You have to be thinking these guys are so good that you have to be on it, and you have to be dialed in, and you have to get to those spots as quick as possible. Like Merce, it's probably the same thing. You going from junior hockey, all right, and then showing up at Norwich, like all of a sudden that pace of play and that mental focus had to be so much higher.
Yeah, definitely. When I ended up at Norwich, it was immediate, right? Like you let up a rebound, you better be right on it, right? And it's like the IQ of these shooters just raises a whole another notch. So Beamer, I ask you, like, what's the biggest thing that you see missing from these goalies when they're jumping up these levels, whether it be from junior to college or from college to pro?
It's a good question. It's more than anything, I think it's pace, keeping up with pace at the start, really heightening your skating, taking it to another level. Like as far
Why
as
do you think skating is important?
Oh yeah, it's just the only thing that goaltending 101 starts with, right? Other than your stance, but taking it to another level. That what I call is pre-shot movement, being able to beat plays on your feet, beating passes, arriving on time, or in other cases early. And that, if we can go into it, is that leads to how you get to your spots, how you are square technically, how you manage your depth. Those all add up to the pre-shot, the save, and the recovery. And that is a huge thing from that junior to college or college to pro. If it's not already programmed into the goalie, is the application of pushing yourself, almost that overspeed mentality of your movement, where it's chaotic at the start, where you feel like, oh man, I might lose my balance here. Then I'm really firm and good on my inside and outside edges, and I'm stopping firmly, and I can transition east and west, can button hook on a dime back into my post. And then that's when those recoveries, like you said, Dak, when it goes off the boards and it's scramble mode and all those broken plays, now that's where you feel like your game is in control. You see goaltenders start to connect the dots. They're sealed well within their knees. They're up over pucks, and then that's when your head and eyes, like you're just over it. Now you're utilizing your size, you're utilizing your range and ability with your hands, and you're not so much a robot anymore. You're using your athleticism. So I think it, like you go back to that, Merce, it's all the pre-shot, and if it's instilled on day one and applied daily to these goaltenders moving up to the next level, and just reiterating it day by day within our practice habits, it does become noticeable. And when you're going through video, you're noticing those clips less and less, where it's you could have beat this here on your feet, or you could have been in a better spot. And that's the nice part of coaching, where you see, that's not showing that as much as I used to. Now let's move on to the next thing. So
isn't it just so crazy that like the skating is that important, and that almost like they don't realize it. And then as that season goes on, like you said, they're showing these clips less and less. I see it at my junior team that I'm with now. And the amount of kids that don't realize that getting there on your feet is so important, as opposed to making a slide or pushing or diving, right? Like keeping our feet under us is just so important. Dak, Brian.
Let's put this in perspective, because this was great. So Beamer, we have a premium version of the Stop It Goaltending U app, and we have a coaches workshop every Tuesday night. So on Tuesday this week, the conversation was about this. It's about the pre-shot, and actually looking at a graphic. If you really think about it, how long does a save take? A second? Maybe a save takes a second. So you got a 60-minute game, and you get 30 shots. So from a save standpoint, you're going to spend 30 seconds making saves. Then you're going to have your post save. Okay. So maybe maybe your post save reaction is going to be another 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The vast majority of the time that you play is about the pre-shot. And that's where the focus is. I don't know how you're set up there at Northeastern, Beamer, but for us at BU, I take the goalies 30 minutes beforehand. We have 4 as well. I take 2 30 minutes beforehand, and then I'll take 2 30 minutes afterwards. But right after practice, I do what's called eating vegetables. I say to the guys, it's time to eat some vegetables. You got to eat your vegetables. And we go out, we skate. So we go 5-10 minutes, good skate, do mobility stuff. So that's kind of where I incorporate my skate, because I get into shots right away. I like to give the goalies a good warm up when they get on the ice, as opposed to skating right away. I used to skate first, and now it's just me and the goalies. I like to warm up I like to be shooting before the shooters get on the ice, so I can give them a good warm up. So that's kind of where and then I'm getting my skating in afterwards. At Northeastern, how much skating do you do? When do you do it? How do you work 4 goalies at the university environment?
And to go along with that, I love how you do with the skating at the start, and whether it be just an overall skating drill within their environment or a blue line drill, the importance of getting their bodies warmed up is immense nowadays. I think just with how much their hips, knees, and ankles are involved. But to answer your question, with 4 goaltenders, especially earlier in the year, we would have skill days in the morning, where I'd take them out at either 8, 8:30, 10, or 10:30, and they'd each get a half hour. And then as the year progressed on, unfortunately, one of our goalies got injured, so it went down to 3. And we would do 30 minutes. We would have power play practice, and 30 minutes prior. And then one of the goalies would be down doing power play. I'd take him out earlier, and then I'd have 2 other goalies during that power play practice down my end with a couple shooters. And then primarily about 10 or 15 minutes after practice, I'll run a specific fundamental save drill. Or Whitey and I, Cameron Whitehead, who we typically on a Thursday, or if like tomorrow we'll play Providence on a Friday today. Usually we have a 10-minute routine at the end of practice where it's just all hand stuff that he's just working on, tracking through and tracking into stuff. So a little routine that he has. But typically it's out of if you're looking at practices 4 days a week, right now, and in college, you're working on them every day, but two specific days where there's windows of 20 to 30 minutes of goalie type sessions. And whether that be a skating drill within their crease where we're working on, say, high stances, working on micro shuffles, working on literally working from low to high, east to west, working on our feet as fast as we can, almost to the point where we feel a little bit uneasy. And then incorporating, like I said, a fundamental save with that type of pre-shot, so that they feel that out. They feel like they're engaged. They feel like they're set, and tracking pucks appropriately so that when they do transition to a practice where at times drills can be helter-skelter, and sometimes not goalie friendly. Now they're identifying one thing, whether it's feet are underneath them. They're more patient. They're waiting on that release of that shot rather than giving up their edges. They're tracking pucks into and through. They feel like they're recovering well. So that warm up instills that type of mentality into their game, especially with a 50 to 70 minute practice.
So I want to go talk about that just a little bit because it exemplifies what we mentioned earlier. So for those goalies out there, the goalie parents, you're talking about a Division I athlete, Division I goalie. So you're at Northeastern, you're on the ice a half hour, one-on-one with Brian Mahoney Wilson, and then you have practice. And practice is going to go another 80 minutes, 90 minutes maybe in practice. And then you're going to stay out for another 15 minutes. And then you're going to do some more work. That doesn't include your warm-up. That doesn't include your off-ice training afterwards for your lift with the team. That doesn't include video work with the goalie coach. That doesn't include your video teamwork, right, with the whole team in videos. You have to do all of that, and you have to get your work done, get to your classes. These guys, I look at these guys at BU. I mean, they're going from 8 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night. Like it's a grind and a half. I don't think a lot of people understand. Like everybody, Merce, all the kids that you work with, oh, I want to play at BC. I want to play at BU. I want to play at Northeastern, the whole thing. They have no idea the grind and the sacrifice and commitment it takes to be one of those athletes.
100%. It's completely another full-time job, just like we've been saying. And it's hard to convey that to kids because they see like the glitz and the glam of playing college hockey, right? But they don't quite understand what a hustle it is every single day. Like you got to put the work in on the ice, off the ice, in the video room. It's insane.
Okay, now we talk about this, and Brian, I'm dying to hear your feedback on this because this is something that I deal with all the time, right? So we're talking about the grind and the commitment and playing D1 and what it takes. Well, I got 3 guys putting that grind and commitment that don't touch the ice. We've had the same starter every single game this season. And I've got 3 other guys that are putting in equal, I would probably say more work. I would say that Grammer and Max and Howie, they're on the ice a lot longer because they go out with the skill guys. When they're doing their skill work, they go out so the guys have someone to shoot at. So they're actually doing more than the starter, sacrificing, pushing, and not getting the reward. How do you deal with how do you make those guys feel part of the team and part of the process and playing a role? Like, how are you able to keep them so they don't snap twigs in practice and express their frustration? Because everybody wants to play, everybody wants to be the starter, and there's only one net, there's only one guy that's going to start.
It's a very difficult thing to do, no doubt. But I think from the beginning of the season, you get the group together, the 4 goaltenders together, and you express that I know everyone wants the net, and the reality is there's only one guy that can play in that game. And your job is to support him, support the team, and ultimately is being a good culture guy. And there are going to be days where they're tough. And I've always told the goaltenders, the other three that are not playing, I'm there to talk to. You can talk to me any point. I have open door policy about that, no doubt. And the ability to relay and relate to maybe a certain struggle in a certain instance when I played minor pro, or having seen other guys go through it at a pro level or a college level, previous experiences at Notre Dame or West Point, or in Grand Rapids or Toledo, and seeing how those guys dealt with it and conveying my message to the current guys that I'm working with and how those guys got through it. But also from a standpoint of, you want them to improve. You want them to improve and feel like they are a part of it. That is very much important, so that my same attention to detail as Cameron Whitehood, who's played 98% of our minutes this year, as my same attention to detail as Connor Hopkins, Harrison Chesney, and Grant Riley. And that's my job to do that each and every day, because I enjoy that and I want them to feel just as special as the other guy. And that is going into video detail too. When early in the year, when we were like to film our practices, take a bunch of practice clips, show them areas where they're improving, show them areas where they feel like they can get better. And then I take it to another level where, yeah, maybe we're not filming as much or doing the video breakdown through a goalie session, but hey, who's your favorite NHL goalie? Or give me 2 or 3 guys. Well, for example, I've taken Alex Nedeljkovic this year and given Harrison Chesney some of those clips, just because I see similar type qualities or certain save selections or how they move, like, so there's resemblances, and it gives him perspective, and we talk it out. We'll have like a 30-minute conversation about 10 clips, and what does he see? What does he like? What can he apply? So I think it's important from that aspect that they feel like they're learning still, they're engaged, and that if something happens, it's ultimately the sacrifice you take, being one of those guys that
it's funny, Mersh, what Beamer's talking about,
Yeah.
doing the film. And I hadn't really thought about using the video from practice.
I know.
With goalies that aren't playing. So we do video twice a week at BU.
Mhm.
So on Mondays we do the video from the game. So the game's on the weekend, which is going to be Carol, right?
Right.
So then on Tuesday we do video, but we do NHL video. So we just go to the scores on NHL.com. We pick a game. It's a 3-5 minute highlights, and it's 95% goals and saves. So we sit there and we watch and we break it down. And I ask each goalie, hey, what do you think? You like this? You don't like this? So I really never thought about Beamer's idea to take practice video and work with the guys that weren't playing with their practice video. I never really thought about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to take that one away from this one.
But what I do, and it sounds like you do the same thing, Brian. So I do video sessions on Monday with the goalies from the weekend. And then on Tuesday, we do video sessions using NHL goals. So we're just watching NHL clips and we're breaking down the goalies. And I hadn't really thought about it from that end, but here's why I do it. Because I feel I can coach without any pushback by talking about someone that's not them on the video. So if I'm like talking about James Reimer, I can be like, hey, I love how Reimer plays an overlap on this one. Instead of, guys, I think you should play an overlap on this play, right? Or, oh, I just can't stand how Fleury played that play. He was this and he was that. So I feel like I can coach and I can really express my opinions without telling them they have to do something and changing their game. And so it's kind of my way to be able to push a little bit in terms of my systems and my philosophies and make it a discussion, because now I'm not talking to them about their game and what they should do. We are talking collectively about how Reimer should have played that play. So I feel it's a way that we could really get without anything personal, right? Takes the combativeness goalie coach to goalie and making him do stuff and he wants to do it. So I find we can talk through a third party and be able to dissect that goalie. And then that allows me to get across some of my views, and they get to learn from watching these videos and listening to my comments. They get to learn what's important to me and some of my philosophies in terms of structure and systems.
And you're talking about guys at the highest level too, so you're going to get less pushback there as well, right? So speaking of guys at the highest level, Beamer, you've coached the likes of Jimmy Howard, Alex Nedeljkovic, Calvin Pickard, just a few small names there. What was it like kind of working with those professionals, like true professionals, even like Jimmy Howard, like a true legend in Detroit?
Yeah, it was a really cool experience from the sense that, Jimmy he came down a couple times just on a conditioning stick coming back from an injury. And then you look at guys like Pickard and Nedeljkovic. Now Nedeljkovic came down and he was a pro's pro. Everything he did each day was meticulous, routine based, and just like Stoppett's slogan, "Get better." You want to get better, and even at a time where it was probably a difficult place for him to make a transition down to Grand Rapids. That's a guy that wanted to, continue to improve his craft, and it's paid nicely for him this year so far. And Calvin Pickard was another guy that made the transition to Grand Rapids from a season. I think it was, I can recollect, probably 18-19 or 19-20, where I think he was on 3 teams. And, he got back on track, and he learned new ways of redefining himself and his overall skill set and his body of work. So now today, he's really the back of the Edmonton Oilers. So all different personalities, different ways of doing things, both on the ice, off the ice, as far as their daily maintenance and routine. But guys that, one, cared about what they did on a daily basis, and two, were super, super competitive at everything they did. It was incredible just to watch them, whether it be play ping pong, kicking the soccer ball around. They wanted to win at everything. And they were guys that loved to take breakaways, loved to, 3-puck, top of the circle, and then both at the dots, play, as many rounds as possible. They couldn't get enough. And that was the one thing, is they wanted to stay on the ice all the time. I would go through a goalie session, they go through practice, and they want more after, and that's the luxury of working with pros at that level. They're just not satisfied in a day's work. They just want more, and it's fun to them. That stopping the puck, the act of stopping a puck, is enjoyable, and that was pretty cool from a coaching standpoint, not only to help their skill set and what allowed them to have results, but to see, those 2 or 3 years with picks, but also, the half a year with Ned, to see some of that that kid come out of them as far as just being a goalie at heart and enjoying being present in the moment, being grounded, feet underneath, which was pretty cool because easily when you're in the minor leagues and you've been a veteran experience like that, you can kind of get in your own way. And those are two guys, for example, that did not get in their own way. They made themselves better.
It's so funny because I talked to some of the kids that avid users of the Stop It Goaltending U app. It's like they can't get enough. They watch video after video and they're talking to me about that video and that playbook and that systems, and they got questions, right? And like when I have kids like that go through the videos and learn and then ask me questions about it, I get so fired up because I know they've got that they want to do that extra, that no stone unturned kind of approach. And I get to see it every day. So if you're not a college hockey fan out there, we have a player at Boston University by the name of Macklin Celebrini.
He's all right.
And yeah, he's okay. He's tearing it up. He's 17 years old, playing college hockey. He's one of the best players in college hockey. But what Beamer said earlier, every single practice, he practices to get better. And it's so striking to me when you see somebody like that. It's so easy to say there's no wonder he's so good. If we're running power play at the end of practice and he gets a one-timer and he misses the net, he is furious. He wants to score so bad at that moment of that time. He pours every ounce of focus that he has goes into what he's doing that day, what he's doing that moment. And it's so amazing to see how much better he's gotten. I mean, you're talking about a stud to begin with who has just gotten better all season long. And it's not rocket science. He tries every day to get better. And as a coach, it's so easy to see. And I don't know if it's as easy for the players to understand. Like, I don't know if they look at him and go, yeah, look at this guy. He's pushing himself every day. And that's what we need from the goalies.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't want to gloss over this point that Beamer made, actually. They find it fun. I'm sure Macklin finds it fun, right? Like, they embrace the grind. I know it's like kind of a cheesy thing to say, but they embrace that grind of it. And that's the big thing that I think a lot of kids miss is like, you have to enjoy the grind. Yes, like the sport itself is fun, but the whole picture we have to enjoy, right? I think that's a big piece that kids miss.
And to go along with that, it's a matter of working through, I would call boredom. Like, Macklin Celebrini can sit in his office and take one-timers, 50 one-timers, but continue to go and go and go and perfect that shot and that speed and that velocity and how he releases it. But I don't think he's ever going to get bored by that. And just that's the same thing when it goes along with goaltending, doing our movement patterns and trying to get a little bit more out of anything we do in the subsets of our positions, screenplay, post play, you name it, being truly set, square, underneath, patient, all those things that are applicable to goaltending that we're trying to just get better at. We need to push through that mentality of each day, that it's embrace that grind, like you said, and work through, because the best players that make it to the top, they love it. They love it each day. And their body's not going to feel great every day. They might be mentally drained, but they find it to push through and not complain and not shortchange what their potential is. And that's where you find the difference with the goaltenders that reach that top mentality is some guys just let things go But the guys, they can grind, and they're mentally so strong with each day. They're going to put as much effort into that day as possible to want to improve their craft.
You'd say you'd given us a nugget a little bit earlier when you were talking about Ned coming to Grand Rapids, and I think you called it routine based. He was like his routine, and if you haven't read Atomic Habits yet, you got to read Atomic Habits. Unbelievable. It's a great book, and so much applicable to goaltending and life, obviously, but the habits that a goaltender has to have. And we were watching video the other day as part of the Bridge program, and in one game, there were 2 goals that went under the triangle of a goalie's stick, post-integration RVH to the glove side, where the blade was over, and it went between the heel of the blade and the toe of the skate. And I had to hammer this into the kids. I'm like, guys, look, this is habits. This is a stick that wasn't in the right spot 2 times in a row in one game. So in one game, something extremely controllable, where you put your stick in your RVH on a down low play behind the net. Like, it's simple, it's easy, but it's hard to do it in practice every single time the right way. And when you I think you said something like routine based about Ned, that's what I was thinking when you were talking about that.
It's so true, because I think when you get older, you realize that every time that, for example, when I used to practice, those 2 hours matter. Those 2 hours, you can make yourself better. You can apply new things that can allow those habits to come to fruition within a game. And not only from the skill set standpoint, but the mental standpoint as well. You work hard mentally off the ice, and the power of your brain and what you want to attract, how you want to do things within your crease. That's just as important. And to go along to like a side note would be also how you train your eyes too. The VR system by Sensorina has been outstanding for our goalies this year, seeing and utilizing that type of training that is so above and beyond that. One, you can control how many reps your body, you're not in 40 pounds of equipment, you're not dropping down all the time, you're just literally replicating what the mind body experiences out on the ice. And that's the only way you can really do it, other than, you can juggle tennis balls or throw a ball against a wall, but this doesn't even correlate to that. With the VR sense training, it's been incredible for, especially Whitey's used it a lot this year as far as the cognitive and the in-game situations, what he sees, what the VR shows for situationals, for patterns, and seeing releases. It's been an incredible translation to his game on the ice.
If you're not familiar, to our listeners, if you're not familiar with VR, Sensorina is a company out of Prague, Czechia now. I was dating myself a little bit with that one, so Czechia now, and incredible product that I'm involved with that allows goalies no ice, just their Oculus Quest to go out and train, and it's amazing to me. My son, Joey, who didn't touch it for 2 years, had no interest in it. And then all of a sudden discovered it when there wasn't a morning skate one morning, and he wanted to get ice. So he put his headset on and he got a shutout that night, and the rest is history. He's an avid user. And I'd say about once every other week, after a game, he says, "Hey, Dad, you know that save in the third period?" He goes, "That was a Sensorina save. I don't make that save without Sensorina." And it's so gratifying from my end to hear you talk about the importance it plays at Northeastern, because it has had an impact. Joey works on screens all the time because, hey, look, no one wants to stand in front of the goalie in practice and get hit with pucks screening the goal. Like, no one wants to do it, right? So you can't get it. You can't get a realistic amount of reps doing that, but you can when you've got someone in VR where they're not getting hurt standing in front of you. So you can work on your screens. And one of the things that he says is his ability to pick up a puck once he's missed the release has grown so much, because we always talk about you got to see the release, but as you know, Beamer, in pro hockey, college, right, that's not always the case. Like, you may just get a glimpse of the puck at some point along its flight, and you got to be able to make the save. And the cool thing in Sensorina, you can practice that.
I agree. The thing is that you're not always going to see the release. You know, like, as a goaltender, you're in the paint and you're looking, okay, this guy might be playing short side goalie or he's inside goalie, and you're thinking of, you know, your brain and mind are calculating, and you're in your high stance, mid stance, low stance, whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden, you know what part of the net's open, then you got to react. And I think that is a big thing with Sensorina, is expanding your visual pathways outside your body width. And there's one cognitive drill in there where I see Cameron catching at times where it's literally like a football, Nerf football thrown in the air, and I can see him catching in the back, like predicting where that puck or that ball is going to land. And I feel like it's almost like a sixth sense within your neuro and how your brain is, how you're formatting your brain and your body, and that mind-body connection, but also it's creating reactivity outside that visual pathway of inside your body width, where you're extending like out to your outer boundaries, where, you know, that range between the center of your eye and corner of your ear, like 90 degrees. You're trying to reach out as far as you can to get that puck. Doesn't matter if it's 6'3", as tall as you are, or it's on the ice. And that's what's I'm noticing with, you know, the type of drills will shoot pucks wide intentionally at times on the ice to like get him to reach outside that body width to really extend, but also seeing from the VR standpoint how that's correlated is something that you can't put a price on.
No, it's funny. Like, we talk about projection, the ability to project, and that drill that you're talking about, and they'll do it with different colors, and you got to make decisions. It's phenomenal. But hey, before we let you go, you've been so gracious with your time. I appreciate it so much. But before we let you go, I got to tell you this. Like, we're competitors now. You know, we work for the same company. We both work for Stop It, but we're competitors. You're Northeastern, I'm BU. So I'm not asking for any secrets here, but I'll tell you one thing. So I do a pre-scout before every game, and I have to do pre-scout on the opposing goalie. So I had to do Cam, you know, and I've seen Cam in the summer at our camps and stuff, and I've got to write him up. And so the way I do my pre-scout is I will watch a full game, you know, the last game that you guys played, and I'll also watch his last 50 goals. Okay, so I watch 50 goals. Because that's real to me, right? How did the puck actually go in? Forget about all the other stuff. How did the puck go in? So I zero in on that, and then I watch all these goals, and then I just watch them play a game, and then I write my report. And the most difficult report I wrote this year was on Cam Whitehead. Every time I do this, I'm able to pick apart, okay, let's do this. Let's look for this. Let's look for that. And I felt so bad when I wrote my report, because I thought I was full of crap, because I had nothing to give the guys. There was nothing that I could like oh, he goes down too early, or oh, he doesn't play the puck. Like, there was really, I didn't have any nuggets to give the guys, and I felt like I was letting the guys down. But what's it like coaching him? And I'm just so impressed with him, and he seems to have just flourished this year under you. And I just wanted you to talk a little bit about Cam before we wrap this up.
I'm very similar with pre-scouts too. 50 goals I do, and usually watch one or two of their previous games. So it's good mind thinks a lot. Good minds think alike. So, you know, with Cam, it's only 7 months like into his development and in college, and he's grown leaps and bounds. First off, from skill standpoint, skill set, just developing certain areas within his game, refining areas. You know, our mentality has been one thing at a time. Get really good at one thing at a time, and then now we'll move on to the next. So his brain can absorb that. It's not, you know, fight or flight. I'm gonna get better at one thing and gonna move on to the next. And the next thing is his approach to practice. Now, this is a mental thing. He doesn't get as frustrated as he once did with practice. You know, every drill is not going to be for a goalie. Now, what can you get out of each drill that's going to make you better in that moment? And if it's a slot shot right down the pipe, right down the gut, how are you gonna stay on your feet in that situation? You know, lean shift into something. You know, be patient on your feet. That's the type of mentality that he's taken to each drill, regardless if it's a goalie drill or not. Third thing would be his preparation off the ice, how much he's learned about his body, the preparation that goes into keeping your hips, knees, ankles, all your joints intact throughout a season. That's, you know, it's going to be long as we go on here. As he goes on here throughout his career, he's going to learn that, you know, he's playing 30, 40 games a season right now. Well, that's probably going to go to 50, you know, as he becomes a pro one day. So learning body maintenance and recovery is just as important as preparation before and the skill set he's applying on the ice. And the last thing is the maturity as far as what he's done off the ice with his overall mindset and mentality, in growing his brain and learning breathing tactics, meditation tactics, really instilling in himself a focus, and as far as attracting what he wants to obtain each day. I think that's the one area he's really become strong, is what he wants, he sees and visualizes, not only on the ice, trying to make a save, the act of making a save, but how to possess what he wants, which is to win. You know, and I think any goalie, they want to win when it comes down to it. But also the act of he knows and understands it is a process. It is a long, long process, and there's no rush to it. So grasp each day, keep your feet underneath you, and that's what he's done a very good job in just 7 months. And it's, you know, there's so many things as a goaltending coach that you want to kind of dangle the carrot a little bit, show a little bit more, but I want to just keep it a simple approach so that he takes it one thing at a time, gets better at it, and then now he doesn't feel overwhelmed. He feels ready for that next game or that next practice, and that he can feel comfortable within his own skin. So he's done so much, you know, in just 7 months, and it's going to be interesting and exciting to see what he can do in the summertime, and, you know, continue to work on craft and where he takes obviously his depth within his call career.
Well, I'll tell you what, like you just touched on what a great way to wrap up. Like, take the stair, like goalie parents, goalies, just listen up, take the stairs, do not take the elevator. If you take the elevator to the top, you're going to miss too many lessons. You're going to miss too many experiences. So take your time. This goalie thing, goalie world, just settle down, relax, take it one step at a time, keep on learning and keep on getting better. And I got better today. I'm going to have to, it's so funny. I listened to the In Goal magazine podcast, and they're so good. And they talk about re-listening to the podcast. And all I'm thinking about in the last few minutes is, yeah, I'm going to re-listen to this podcast. So Merce, it was so much fun having Beamer on here. It was a great picking his brain a little bit.
Yeah, Beamer, a lot of nuggets in there. We appreciate your time, man. Like a lot of little tidbits that goalies could take away, and even us, we're going to take away a lot here too.
So I wish you the best of luck. I hope that I hope that BU does not see Northeastern again. I hope I don't see you till next year, because you've had our number. But I've got my playoff beard going already. I'm sure you've noticed that. This is for if you're listening to it and you can't see, I've got the growth going. This is a veteran move. It's called starting your playoff beard before the playoffs, so you look like you have this big, manly, rusty beard going here for the playoffs. So I've got a head start. We just need to win one more game, and I'm okay. If we lose our last game, I got to shave and start again, but hopefully we're going to win it, and I'll have a nice beard going. So, Beamer, I can't thank you enough, and best of luck.
Thanks, Dak. I appreciate you as well, and looking forward to obviously if there's any upcoming battles, Dak, and then look forward to getting back on the ice with you two this summer at Merrimack, and obviously the GCG up in Marlborough.
Awesome. Thanks, Beamer.
All right, take care.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed that interview when Adam and I were talking about who we wanted to have on the first show, and we thought there's so many great guests, including Corey Schneider. We can't wait to have Corey on, and Mikey Condon, just a bunch of people that are involved with Stop It Goaltending and the Stop It Goaltending U app. But, when we look at this podcast, the podcast is another vehicle, a tool in which to develop, where goalies can develop, where goalie parents can learn more, where goalie coaches can learn more, where we're all growing together. And I thought that Brian was a really good example in terms of the way he thinks about the position and his experiences as a coach, former player himself, and coaching at different levels. I think it was the right person to get this started, to set the tone for this podcast.
Definitely. Like, he's very methodical in the way he does things, and he hits every point, make sure you understand what he's talking about. And the one thing that I always take away from any interview with a coach, but Brian especially, skating is so important.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a really good nugget to take away.
It's just everyone doesn't like doing it, but at the end of the day, that's the basis of what's going to make you a great goalie at the end of the day, is getting those feet under you, keeping your feet under you, and getting to the right spots on time or early, like he said.
It's funny, like anytime that you dive into it, it's like that old expression, nothing bad happens when you go to a rink. You're always going to learn something. You're going to meet something. And, so last night in our coaches call for the premium members at the Stop It Goaltending U app, we have a coaches call every Tuesday, and we were talking about the interview. And the two nuggets that we talked about most were the skating, right? And the other one was that idea of going over practice video.
Oh, yeah. That was, I am going to implement that.
Yeah.
And it's playoffs right now, so I don't want to mess with the goalies too much.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
like next season, I'm going to be all about this practice video, especially for the guys who aren't playing as much, like you were talking about, almost with Howie and those guys and Lacroix. I think that's going to be super beneficial to the goalies, just so they can see what they're doing, like not as well, what they can improve on,
or doing well.
Right, exactly.
Reinforcement, because when they're in net, it's tough, right? So
especially in practice.
yeah, so when you get a chance, they come out of the net, and if you're down at their end, and then you say something, whatever. But if you can have it right there in video and stop it and rewind it and slow-mo it, now you can really get something out of it. So I got fired up over that because, at BU I do my the goalie that played, and then the other day that we do video, I do NHL video. But now I'm going, okay, I'm going to start doing practice video. I think that's a great tool. I was actually talking to Joey about that the other day. And I said, hey, do you guys ever watch practice video? And he goes, no. He goes, never really thought about it before. I go, yeah, like if you're working on something and you're working something new, like let's say Steve Briere has you trying something new, then why don't you watch it on video in practice, the drills that you're doing, to see what that looks like?
That's super interesting. So when you're going to go over this video with your goalies, are you going to do it individually or as a group or both?
So I build the goalie department, and when we do game video, we have the goalie that played, and we have everybody else in the room too. We talk situation through, because that gives them the opportunity to understand what I'm looking for, right? And what I see, and it allows them to see what I'm talking about, and not only just for the starting goal, for everybody in the room to learn and grow.
Right.
So, for me, a goalie department is about everybody working to get better and pushing each other, and then whoever plays, we support them, and that's that.
Definitely.
Because whoever's playing is a representative of me. It's a representative of our the goalies that aren't playing. Like, they're representing our goalie department, and the job of the goalie department is to help the team have a chance to win.
Absolutely.
So I do it together. I know Brian does it individually, but I do it as a group.
I like the thought of doing it as a group, unless it's like something super specific to that person. I think obviously pick your spots, right? But I think doing it as a group, I like the idea of the goalie department, right? Because at the end of the day, we're playing an individual position inside of a team game, right?
Yes.
So I think having that team around you, or goalie department around you, to go over things with, bounce things off of, I think that's super beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Merce, our first podcast in the books. A big thank you to you. A big thank for putting this all together and doing the logistics and getting this thing going. And a big thank you to Brian Mahoney Wilson. And
absolutely, thank you for being on with me, and thank you to Brian Mahoney Wilson for the great interview. A lot of little nuggets. I hope you guys found them. I hope you guys took some notes on it too, because you guys are going to want to keep those in mind. And
thanks for listening, watching the podcast. And remember, you got this.
I hope you enjoyed the Goalie Podcast by Stop It Goaltending U. If you haven't already downloaded the Stop It Goaltending U app, you can get your free 7-day trial at either the App Store or Google Play.